Dungeons and Dragons may have started out as the primary sport for so-called nerds and outcasts back in the 70s, but in the year 2023, the mainstream appeal of this tabletop game has gained more momentum than a single dad at the Gloucestershire cheese roll. On the outside, it's still viewed as cringe from people who spend 21 hours a day watching street interviews on TikTok.
Yeah, no facts, Cap.
But with chads like Henry Cavill, Joe Manganiello, and Matthew Lillard shamelessly flaunting their dorkier sides, people are finally starting to drop the too cool for school act and just let people enjoy themselves. Did you know that Robin Williams played D&D?
What the flip?
Anyway, this is Rogue's Roll Call, and I'm kinda new to the D&D community. Hey, I'm Cam. Thanks so much for clicking the video. This is my first video on this channel and I plan on making lots more where I chat about and dive deeper into a whole range of current D&D topics. Seeing as this is my first video, I thought it would be a good idea to start by just talking about how and why I ended up playing Dungeons and Dragons at all. Now, I'm not necessarily new to D&D itself. I've watched Critical Role for a very long time. Don't roll your eyes at me. I know there's a stigma about these guys, but that's a video for another day. And I've pretty regularly watched any one-shots I could find on YouTube just to get a hit of that role-playing fun. D&D happened to be the focus of my favorite episode of one of my favorite TV shows, Community. I've always wanted to play it myself, but back in the day, I was a skateboarder who listened to heavy metal and ate lunch outside of tattoo studios. My best friends now are still the same friends I had back then, but the culture just didn't really gel with sitting around a table and putting on silly voices. The Eddie Munson aesthetic wasn't really a thing where I grew up. Anyway, fast forward and I grew up. My friends grew up. We stopped worrying as much about being cringe and just decided to try the game we always wanted to play. And it went great. About a year ago, there was 6 of us drawing battle maps on a piece of paper and using craft plastic tokens as our miniatures. Now, another hobby of mine growing up was writing fantasy fiction, and it's something I still do to this day. So it made perfect sense for me to be the dungeon master. And let me tell you, when I realized that it was either me being DM or no D&D at all, I was bummed. I wanted to be a player. I wanted to create my obligatory, edgy, orphaned tiefling rogue assassin and roll a bunch of dice to see if I could pickpocket literally every NPC I came across. But I remember it was during our first campaign, which was Dragon of Ice Spire Peak, I, as the DM, didn't really like one of the pre-planned side quests. I just found it was way too similar to another one of the side quests that we'd already gone through. So I took it out completely and I wrote my own side quest to replace it. And when we were playing the game and we got to the session where we were going through that quest at the table, and I was watching my friends play through this little story that I wrote, not just reading it like you would a book, but actually interacting with it, making decisions that change it. It all just kind of clicked. It was in that moment that I realized I'm definitely meant to be behind the DM screen. I've been a D&D player before. I've played through a few games, and don't get me wrong, it's fun. It's very fun. I really love it when one of my mates wants to run a one-shot and I get to take a break from being DM and get to experience rolling a nat 1 on literally every ability check that I do, but getting to create and tell a story not just for people, like I again have been doing, but with people. Not just people, my friends, my best friends. It's an incredible feeling. Pretty much all the free real estate up in here there's a lot of space in there. These days it's pretty much consumed by planning the next session or thinking about what the next NPC will look like, what trouble that NPC can cause for the players. Most of my working week at my actual job is just me being excited for Sunday because I know that I'll get to hang out with my mates and put them through trials and challenges that will make them suffer. It's like payback, you know, for all the jokes about my cooking. I'm not a very good cook. The hobby has also kind of grown like a bacteria. It's grown and consumed me kind of on a financial level as well. Not to the point of me needing an intervention or anything like that, but I have been 3D printing all of our minis for our characters and the NPCs and the enemies and the monsters. And I've also just recently gotten into making terrain out of foam, which is a bit of an upgrade from this thing I made. So I got this like plastic battle mat from Pathfinder or whatever it is. I glued it to a big circular piece of cardboard and I put it on a turntable. That way we can use a whiteboard marker and just draw the battle map on there. And this is great, don't get me wrong, we still use this sometimes if we have to. But being able to go from that to using foam dungeon tiles is just, I don't know, it's like a level of theatrics that is definitely not necessary for D&D. I know a lot of people even don't like that stuff because they prefer to keep it entirely theater of the mind. But being able to go to that stuff has just brought in a whole new level of fun. And we've also just recently started working with a bit of lighting, that kind of stuff. We don't have a studio, it's literally just our dining room. But we have a few things set up, like we kind of made this specialized tabletop that we put on top of the dining table that makes it bigger. It's got a raised platform in the middle, some lighting overhead, just stuff like that that is easily detachable, but really enhances the game itself. Don't get me wrong, I'm not sitting there setting up literally every environment that they go through, but when a very important moment is happening, or a fight, a battle, then I'll set up like the dungeon tiles and we'll get the lighting going, all that kind of stuff, the music. Let me know if you'd like me to make a separate video kind of showing you all of that stuff that I've got set up at the moment. Dungeons and Dragons has gone from just being like a tabletop hobby to also a creative writing hobby and a crafting hobby. One thing that's really great about D&D is just how freeing it is to leave your inhibitions of cringe at the door. It took me over a full campaign to start doing voices for NPCs, and now I can't imagine not doing it.
I, Queen Eliza Eldritch of the Elves, who cruelly jilted you not 3 moons ago.
When I finally decided to do what my players had asked and started using NPC voices, I started with a pirate named Saltgums. There was some laughing around the table, me included, and I was a bit embarrassed, I'll be honest. I don't know why. These friends of mine have seen me in way more compromising situations, but I was a bit embarrassed. But after a bit of time, something kind of funny happened. It was about an hour into the session, and I was still doing the voices, but we weren't laughing about them anymore. That was just how Saltgums sounded. I don't know, I really love this game. It's given me a whole new, incredible and immense way to enjoy and take part in fantasy storytelling, which has always been my passion. That's something that hasn't changed from me writing books, which I still want to do, but it's something that hasn't changed from that. I'm still enjoying and participating in fantasy storytelling, just on a much grander and more cooperative scale. I'm not just telling stories anymore. I am laying the foundation for a story that me and my friends are telling together. I cannot wait to make lots more videos about D&D, not just like about my experience with D&D and my feelings on it specifically, but on various current D&D topics. For example, one of the next videos I have planned is a bit of a chat discussion about the critical role stigma that I've experienced in the real world. I am a big fan of Critical Role, but I absolutely understand some of the hesitations a lot of other D&D people have about maybe not the people themselves, but the effect that that show has had on the Dungeons and Dragons community. Anyway, yeah, lots more D&D videos. I really do hope you stick around. Thank you so much for clicking this first video on this channel. From what I've seen, the D&D community is one of the most supportive and friendly out there, so thanks again for watching. Until next time, have a good one, and tell your DM that I said you can roll with advantage. Catch ya.